By now, we all know what happened last night. By now, we all know that every time we believe Vince McMahon cannot find a new lower than the low he has already reached previous, he will reach that low. We all know by now that right when we think that company cannot hit a new bottom lower than rock bottom, they will find a new bottom. They took their two most polarizing superstars, the ones with all the headlines and all the momentum, Sasha Banks and Bray Wyatt, and they rushed them into championship matches. Their backs were in a corner, they were in a pickle, they were in a jam situation through no fault but their own. Now they had to rectify their wrongdoings. They had to call the audible, adjust and adapt. One of those sumbitches better be walking away with a championship and the other better be booked dominantly and our jaws better be dropped in awe of what they've done or did in that ring. Even though they didn't get a championship, wow, that was epic. And again, the other one had to get a championship. Doesn't matter which does what, but that's what needed to happen in Sacramento last night. That's just not what we wanted. That's not just our favorite superstar. We wanted to do something good. We wanted to see them get something right. No, this is just what needed to happen. They're your top stars that had all the headlines, all the momentum. They were polarizing the last couple of months. They gave us life back in a lifeless product. They put a pulse back in your shows. Bray Wyatt, Sasha, we all can admit that. Even if you're not a fan of either one of the two. That's the case. Vince knew that. That's why he rushed them into Hell in a Cell. This was a pay-per-view that was only had 3 announced matches. 3 announced matches. 2 of them, Hell in a Cell, one with Sasha, one with Bray. So it's sitting in their lap at that point. Whether Vince is reluctant to do such or not doesn't matter. Now you have to do what's right. Not what we just want, but you have to do what is needed now. Because you're only going to harm your superstars. Those characters are going to get damaged if you do not do what's right. You can't just kill their momentum, right, already, in just a couple of months. Sasha just came back. You can't have her lose Hell in a Cell, obviously. Knowing Vince, though, he put her inside Hell in a Cell and actually not only make her lose, but tap out, knowing Vince. But he wouldn't actually do that, right? That's a joke. Yeah, we'll get to that. Bray Wyatt, how the fuck does he go in there and not get a championship? And I've said from day one, that character doesn't need a championship. It's like The Undertaker. They don't need a championship. That character speaks for itself. But Vince McMahon rushed him into a Hell in a Cell match this early when he's at the top of his game, polarizing. Captivated the entire pro wrestling world. So you knew Sacramento paid their money to see that dynamite moment when he hoists up that championship. Everyone around the world. We were waiting for that Bray Wyatt moment. Or at least that jaw-dropping moment. Championship or not, Bray Wyatt, this new Fiend is the real deal. Last night, we all walked away from Hell in a Cell thinking that's the same old Bray Wyatt booking we have seen from day one. All talk, no backup. BC got up after all of that, man. Yeah, after a bell rang. Which in its own right is still mind-bogglingly stupid to the highest degree throughout the entire wrestling community. But again, we'll get to that later too. This is just the opening monologue of things that surely cannot happen. But Vince found a way to make these things happen. Make Sasha Banks somehow look weaker than she possibly ever could have. Make Bray Wyatt look like a fucking stupid dingbat more than he ever could have. And in the process, ruin your Universal Champion as well. And his finisher, which I will never again believe, can take anybody out. If that was supposed to make Bray look strong, taking 76 stomps, it did the opposite. I don't care if you call this a disqualification inside the cell or just a referee stoppage. I don't care what you want to call it. There's people defending this and going, it wasn't supposed to be a no DQ. It's a ref stoppage. You're telling us this like that matters. Hell in a Cell is supposed to be the one structure in WWE where there has to be a winner. There is no stoppage of any sort. It's Hell in a Cell. And my concept of hell is pretty freaking severe. But the referee, he let his 2019 PC culture get the best of him. He got all up in his feelings and emotions. He couldn't see any more brutality. He calls for the bell. And people are giving it labels. It was a disqualification. It was a ref stoppage. It was a no contest. It was Hell in a Cell is what it was. And you're okay with that type of ending. You got a couple 2-3 screw looses up in your dome piece. I cannot believe what they did to their top stars last night. And trust me, Sasha Banks, Bray Wyatt, those are your top stars right now because they're the most talked about. They were the most polarizing for the past several months. It hasn't been Becky Lynch, no matter how much Vince is getting behind this machine. It's not Charlotte Flair. It's not Seth Rollins. I am telling you this. And I'm not even throwing shade at any of them. I don't mind any of them. I'm calling it down the middle as I've seen it for 30 plus years watching this product. Those are the most talked about stars right now, and you should be giving them the rocket and really giving them a chance. Somehow, Bayley and Sasha are tapping out last night when they have all the momentum, and Charlotte is squeezing away with the championship. In an impromptu match made just fucking 30 hours previous. After all of this, how is it Charlotte Flair walking away with a championship? But are we, or should we be surprised and shocked? Probably not. There's so much to talk about, and where are my manners? My veteran subscribers, welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly review show of Hell in a Cell 2019. For my newer subscribers, this is your first Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Unfortunately for you, this is not going to be a traditional one where it's very close. Something tells me this is going to be very lopsided. But for my newer subscribers, let me explain the rules. Number 1, every single match will get a tally in one of these columns. We're going to dissect every single match on the main card. Not the pre-show. That's in rule number 3, but trust me, we're not even going to get to that. But anyway, rule number 1, every single match gets a tally into one of these columns. Rule number 2, every single ugly, when we do the final count, will turn into 2 bads. So we're only going to determine if this was a good or a bad pay-per-view, not necessarily an ugly pay-per-view. Every ugly will turn into 2 bads. So you really want to stay away from the ugly column, because that will absolutely change the outcome of the final decision of this pay-per-view in determining if it was good or bad. Stay away from the ugly section. That's basically rule number 2. Because that's detrimental to the final tally. Rule number 3, if there is a tiebreaker from all the matches that we go over on the main card, then we go to the pre-show, and that'll decide the tiebreaker. And in the very end, we will decide if this was a good or bad pay-per-view together by dissecting it. But again, something tells me this is going to be the most lopsided Good, the Bad, and the Ugly review that we have ever done on this channel. But let's get into it. I'd say let's have some fun, but I don't know if that's going to be the case today. But you're along for one fucking hell of a ride, I can tell you that much. We started out with a Hell in a Cell championship match. This was a 24-minute Raw Women's Championship match. They gave them 24 minutes. Becky Lynch, the champion, taking on challenger Sasha Banks. I love the time they gave them. Near 25 minutes. That's all I could ever ask for a pay-per-view match. and they went out and they delivered. Tables, chairs, ladders, steel chains, kendo sticks, it was all used in this match. In fact, if you need a home decorator, Sasha Banks may be available because she was setting up her own little Home Depot inside that cell last night. She literally had chairs in the cell structure itself, like through the hole. She was setting up chairs. She was setting up kendo sticks in the cell structure. She was setting up ladders on the cell structure. Like I said, it was a little mini Home Depot that she was setting up. At one point, Sasha hit a Meteora into Lynch and the ladder. At one point, Becky Lynch sat Sasha Banks onto a chair that was held up by 2 kendo sticks suspended on the cell structure itself. So just picture this. Sasha Banks set up the kendo sticks, as I previously mentioned. She sets them up on the cell structure. Well, Becky put a chair on top of those kendo sticks and sat Sasha Banks on top of it, got up on the ring apron, and delivered a one-legged missile drop kick. Pretty badass. The ending saw Sasha toss a bunch of chairs into the ring, only for Becky to get the upper hand and hit a Bexploder from up on the ropes, right into a disarmer. And I cannot believe I'm actually fucking saying this because somebody okayed this, somebody being a 70-year-old fucking absolutely delusional old man. Sasha Banks tapped out in the middle of that ring. All of that, okay, that match, which was good. If you watch that match and you don't think the match itself was good, again, 2 tree screw looses up in your dome piece. I don't know what to tell you. The match was good. You can't let the finish just distort your mindset on the match itself. The match was good. However, that's not what this review is about. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is dissecting every single match on the card. And that means every single realm and aspect of it. Not just the wrestling, because I can see good wrestling down at the local bingo hall. I need to know that there's creativity put into this, and we need a dynamite finish on pay-per-view matches. We need good booking. For anything to go into the good column, it has to be totally good. The ending, I'll say it again, had Sasha Banks tapping out to Becky Lynch. That was Sasha's big return match. Sure, it certainly wasn't Natalya. This was her big comeback match. She had all this momentum. She was playing this new heel character beautifully. She just needs a chance and a push. Don't ruin this, Vince. Please, don't ruin this. Don't do something stupid like put her in there with Becky and have her tap out. We're all expecting a championship win, hopefully. Instead, Vince is like, have her tap out. We need Becky the Man Lynch hoisting the strap. Did you catch the introductions? I don't believe they said the boss, Sasha Banks, did they? I thought they just said from Boston, Massachusetts, Sasha Banks, but they said the man, Becky Lynch. Oh, she's the man, the man. They want you to know the man, the man, the man. And in 2019, it's a female, but she's calling herself a man. This is exactly what we want. It's 2019. Nobody knows who's who and what's what anymore. I love it. The man taps out Sasha Banks. That's not even shade to Becky. And you know what? It's not even about her at this point. It's about Vince. Because the bottom line is, of course Sasha had a good match. I'm beyond that. Sasha Banks could have a damn good 5-star Dynamite match with my toaster oven. I'm not shocked. Just amazing to me that this was Sasha Banks' comeback. It was finally her time. It's always been Charlotte Flair just because Vince has this obsession with beating her father's record. And by now, she's up to what, 9, 10, I mean another 7 or 8, which will probably be done in the upcoming year so Vince can see it. This obsession with beating her father's record, getting all these championships, all these accolades, all this respect, why Sasha Banks gets nothing. That's what it's about more than anything now. I'm done with the Sasha Banks good matches. We know this. Sasha Banks is incredible. She's the best at what she does, literally. Every time Sasha Banks is in the ring, it ends up being a good match and everybody is ooh and ah. Wow, what a good match. She brings out the best in everybody. Gee, I wonder why. There's one common denominator, Sasha Banks. I'm beyond that. Now she needs to be getting the accolades, the respect, and even championships that she deserves. But it's only Charlotte fucking Flair, time after time, to fill a weird, obsessional objective. A weird, obsessional agenda that the old man has to beat her father. When the fans are clearly saying we don't want to see her in this spot again. Sasha has all the momentum, all of it, and she's tapping out. And I'm not one of those people that sets my bar really low. I'm not one of those people that forgets what I've just watched or chooses to forget what I've seen in the past. I still remember vividly Becky Lynch tapping out to Asuka at last year's Royal Rumble. And just because she went on to win the Royal Rumble, they wanted us to forget that. Forget how weak Becky just looked. Because she won the Rumble. No, I can't do that. That's not a champion in my eyes. And I never forgot that. So now you have the image of Sasha just coming back fresh and tapping out to Becky Lynch. 0 for 2 in Hell in a Cell and another dropped ball by Sasha Banks before she scored the touchdown. Vince puts no stock in the Sasha Banks at all. And if that's not downright criminal to you, we're on two different fucking pages, man. Two different sides of the train tracks. Because it is absolutely fucking tragic. This match was good. That finish and the booking behind it was ugly. So I have no choice if I'm calling it down the middle to put it right down the middle. Match was good. The finish and the booking was ugly. This was bad. If you were not going to have Sasha win that championship, you better have found a way to make her look dominant, strong, badass, and drop our jaws with something really cool. That way Becky keeps her title, but Sasha Banks keeps momentum. And whatever you do, do not have Sasha tap out. So what did they do? I'm being generous by putting that in the bad. And that's the only reason that's not in the ugly is because the match was actually damn good. And they put it all on the line. But that's not what this review show is about. If you want that type of review, go somewhere else on this platform. There's a million other people covering pro wrestling. You'll find some dipshit giving it 18 ups and maybe just a couple of downs. And I wasn't even done with the momentum duo, right? With Sasha and Bayley, because Bayley's coming up in an impromptu fucking match for the championship that was just announced 30 hours previous. If that, I might be being generous with that. Might have just been literally the day before. And Bayley suffered the same fate as Sasha. But we'll get to that. Match number 2 was Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan taking on Erick, Rowan, and Luke Harper. And this was is billed as a no DQ, no count out, tornado tag, no fucks given match. Alright. Reigns was taken out via steel steps early on, leaving Bryan as prey for a good near 5 minutes. After a spear to Rowan on the outside, through a table I believe, and Harper on the inside, Rowan and Bryan collect the W. This was a start time of 7:42 p.m. Eastern Time, end time of 7:59 for a total of 17 minutes. The match was actually decent, at times actually good. But just like the Sasha-Becky match, I'm here to dissect these matches in their entirety. Every aspect. And the booking in the finish of this match is mind-boggling to me. This whole Rowan, Harper, Reigns, Bryan storyline, that was its conclusion. And it has to be, because nobody needs to see this go any further, nor does anybody want to see this continue. This whole story was to get us to this weird tag team match for a Roman Reigns spear and W. The same shit we've been seeing for 4+ years. That's what you brought Luke Harper back for? And by the way, Luke Harper ate the fucking pin. He just came back. How do you do that to somebody who just... You're not even giving them a chance. That is what I am saying. Luke Harper has talent. But you gotta at least give him the chance. That finish, the booking of this match was ugly. The match itself, decent and at times good. If I'm calling it down the middle, this is another bad. And if you're asking me, I'm being generous by putting it in the bad. BC, this is outrageous, man. These were two good wrestling matches. Too fucking bad. I can see good wrestling anywhere. As I said earlier in this video, and if you're a veteran subscriber, you know what I'm about to say. I can see good wrestling at the local bingo hall with Billy Buttfuck McGee and Fuckwad Fred taking on Peacock Paulie. And my local pizza delivery guy, Luigi Lugnuts. These are pay-per-views that need to feel special and have meaning and lead to something cool in the process. This is just stupidity. This just doesn't make sense. This doesn't have common sense. This doesn't have logic, and you're ruining your superstars in the process. Roman Reigns really needed that W? More than Luke Harper could use any momentum in the world right now, including Rowan? You need to put together the complete package on a pay-per-view. This shouldn't just feel like a Monday Night Raw or a Smackdown match. And that just felt like a main event of like a Smackdown. That's all that was. I don't give a fuck if you don't like it or not. These are truth bombs, man, and I'm dissecting this in the most factual way possible. That's two bads. Third match of the night. Randy Orton versus Ali. I'll say this again. An unadvertised, impromptu Randy Orton versus Ali match. Basically, I wouldn't mind this match. It's a good Smackdown match. Yeah, no, me neither. If it was on Smackdown. This is on your Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Mind you, people paid money for this. Not just the $10 on the network. This was actually on pay-per-view as well. For people that either don't get the network, don't have the network, or literally, it's not in their area. So they have to get pay-per-view traditionally. And this is what they paid for. This was just filler. A bunch of these matches were fillers. This match was put on for no fucking reason at all. We had an 11-minute match, start 8:09 p.m. Eastern, 8:20 p.m. Eastern finish. 11 minutes, and after 10 minutes of not giving a fuck about any of this, I actually enjoyed the last minute, mostly because I love RKOs out of nowhere, and that's what we got. But in all honesty, this was a decent match for a Smackdown, not a pay-per-view, as aforementioned. Zero reason behind this, zero build, and no caring. Nobody cared. Don't fool yourself. Third match in a row. Ask yourself, would I pay money for that? Would you pay money to see Ali and Randy Orton with no build, no storyline, no creativity, and you don't care about it? If you're experiencing those feelings, is that something you're going to pay for? It's rhetorical. Your answer is no. So I don't care about an 11-minute decent match. BC, that should be good. It was an 11-minute decent match. No. It was a fucking shit show. Because I am sick and tired of the finish / creative / booking not being on point. The RKO out of nowhere finish was the only thing that I was interested in this. But the booking of putting these two in there for no reason and no build, no substance, no fucking caregiving or put into this, that, my friends, is tragic for a pay-per-view. If you're not seeing that at this point this was just a glorified Raw or Smackdown, you're delusional. Tag title match was up next. Alexa and Nikki, the champions, taking on Asuka and Kairi. Where did this come from? Asuka and Kairi have been in obscurity. For 2 years now, we have begged Vince McMahon to try to do something with Asuka, and he refused. For the past over 6 months since her debut after Mania, we begged Vince McMahon to do something with Kairi. But nothing. So they went into obscurity. They won one match in the last 2 weeks over on SmackDown, and that somehow earned them a championship match. And you're saying, BC, you should be happy. This is what you've wanted from day one. Yes, the right way. I wanted some build. I wanted a little bit of a story so that when Asuka and Kairi won the championships, it was a big moment. Instead, this was put on just because Rio won the AEW first ever women's championship. It's no coincidence that Asuka and Kairi were plucked from obscurity 4 days after Rio just won the AEW Women's Championship. Rio was captivating and grabbing all the headlines over in Japan. Vince couldn't be outdone, so he had Asuka and Kairi plucked from obscurity in winning championships finally. But where was this 2 years ago with Asuka? Where was even a storyline or even a good meaningful match for Kairi Sane in the last 6 months? There was none. I've already done my research. But 4 days after Rio wins a championship and grabs all those Japan headlines, Vince cannot be outdone. So he has Asuka and Kairi win the championships. And you're going to tell me, BC, this is what you wanted, man. Now all of a sudden you're upset? How can you not be upset? The victory is tainted. This was not done in the right way. I don't want things to just be done, just to be done. They should be getting championships because they deserve and earned them. So you have to do it correctly. We know they've earned them, right? We know their talent. We know their skill level. We know what they've been through. So just have a story where they're dominant for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. We're not asking for much. Just 4 or 5 weeks of dominance, and it earns them a title shot, and everyone's excited when they finally win it. I'm asking way too much. So within 24 hours, they throw this match together, and Asuka and Kairi get this big title win moment, and everyone's like, what? Oh, yeah, right? But then all of a sudden, they're kind of heel in the match, more so than ever before, which I love Asuka as a heel, and I love the Mist, but it's tainted. All of that is done, and we know why. It's because of Rio, so that is a tainted victory. When they won the championships last night, I wasn't like, yes, finally, Asuka and Kairi have some fucking straps. No, I wasn't like that, because I knew why it was done, and B, it was thrown together impromptu in the last 24 hours. This whole thing was bullshit to me. Never would I thought I would not have liked Asuka and Kairi getting a fucking championship, but Vince found a way to even ruin that for me and for us. If you know how Vince McMahon works, they won those titles because of Rio. It's not because somebody was going to Smackdown, right? It's not because there was a fucking Fox wanted somebody. No, this was because Rio won the championship. And it was a huge story in Japan. And here in the US, this little Japanese superstar won the title. Vince couldn't be outdone, so now, after 2 fucking years, Asuka gets a championship. Okay, Vince. Okay, 4 days after Rio, I got you. After weeks, months, and in Asuka's case, nearly 2 years of basically begging Vince to just give him a chance, some TV time, now he pulls this. Come on, bro. So they win. Again, I like the missed finish. What do you want from me? I had a feeling of repulsiveness when Asuka and Kairi won the championship because I just knew what went into it. And I never thought I would feel that for Asuka and Kairi. I wanted that to be such an epic moment because they earned it. And to not even be advertised. To have this match thrown in as filler. And that's how they won a championship. And it's a reactionary cause. You're basically just a charity case. It's a reaction by Vince. And that's why the belt is on them. No, if it seems like I'm harping on this too long, it's not long enough. I cannot believe right now, that's 4 bads in a row, 4 matches in a row. I cannot believe right now that I am not putting that in the ugly. I am way more generous this morning than I was last night. Because I thought for sure this morning I'd be putting that in the ugly. Got everything on that? Suppose so. 5th match of the night. Now we're at this point, we're in full glorified Raw / Smackdown syndrome right now. We are in a full glorified show. And I wouldn't even want to see this on Monday Night Raw. This was a 6-man schmaz match with the Club versus Strowman in the Viking Warrior Experience Raider Adventure. Tell me that's not something you would see on Monday Night Raw, in the middle of Raw, not even a main event. We probably already have seen that match. Maybe even more than once. And it's filler on a pay-per-view. We paid money to watch filler match after filler match after filler match. Again, no reason and no care whatsoever in this match. It was a schmaz match with a schmaz ending just to set up a Tyson Fury versus Strowman fight in the future that nobody's excited about. That's it. That's my review. I don't need to talk about what am I supposed to talk about? This wasn't pay-per-view-esque or worthy. Now, I'm not generous. That goes into the ugly. And don't forget, that counts as 2 bads in the final tally. Baron Corbin is up next versus Chad Gable. Are you guys seeing the theme here? You guessed it. Another filler match. Something we've already seen on Monday Night Raw twice, so we're going to get it a 3rd time over at Hell in a Cell. I wouldn't have even mind a rubber match. Wouldn't even have minded it with these two. Do it on Raw and let them have fun. I mean, they're good together. I like the chemistry. But an impromptu pay-per-view match, unadvertised, then you're just a filler match. With no real care about this, other than the fact that Chad Gable is short. You have driven home the point to no end that Chad Gable is short. We get it. Gable wins the match. Okay. It was a Raw match. It shouldn't have been on Hell in a Cell where people are paying for this. Fuck. That is a full 5 tally now in the bad after 6 matches. And we have 1 ugly. Where am I supposed to find good on this card, guys? If I'm dissecting the match and I'm putting a tally as a whole, how can I call any of this good? Some of the wrestling was good, yes. Again, I can see good wrestling anywhere in the world 17 times a day. It's a pay-per-view. Everything needs to gel together, come together, and form and complete a total package. If it does not, it'll be put in the correct column as I see fit. Up next is the Smackdown Women's Championship. This is Bayley taking on Charlotte. You talk about impromptu filler. This match was made maybe, if at best, 30 hours before the match took place. You're telling me Bayley doesn't deserve better than that? The match went roughly 15 minutes and Charlotte Flair defeats Bayley via tap out. They had Bayley tap out to Charlotte Flair just to make Charlotte Flair look more dominant than dominant could ever be. Dominant is one thing. We have to make Charlotte look really dominant. Have Bayley tap out like her friend Sasha. A match made 30 hours in advance with one goal in mind. Get the strap back on Flair. Forget Bayley's entire title reign. Have her lose it in impromptu fashion to the Golden Queen, because why the fuck not? All that Sasha and Bayley momentum the last 2 months, and we had all such high hopes and expectations. Something we don't usually have for WWE because Vince will find a way to ruin it. But we had it with these two. And in the same night, within roughly an hour and a half of one another, tap out, tap out. Double tap out, Sasha and Bayley. Not just losses, but in the weakest ways possible. Disarmer tap out, figure 8 tap out. You're telling me Bayley doesn't deserve the respect enough to have an advertised title match for at least 2 or 3 weeks? You're telling me Bayley doesn't or hasn't earned the respect to not drop the title in a filler impromptu match? You're delusional. I already know the answer. She damn right has earned that respect. Unfucking real, the decision made in here. Somehow, when we're supposed to be talking about Sasha and Bray Wyatt's night, this was their night. Sasha and Bray. And Charlotte's the one running away with the championship. How? What? Vince McMahon is so far off his fucking rocker, it's no longer even funny. That Smackdown Women's Championship, there's not enough uglies in the world. But maybe I'm just generous this morning. That gets an ugly. 1. Universal Championship, Hell in a Cell match, supposedly. Hell in a Cell, you know, that structure where anything goes and you can do whatever you want to your opponent because there must be a winner. Or at least that's the rules. So we thought. Vince can change them as he sees fit. So we have this match, Wyatt and Rollins, and the only way Wyatt cannot get this title is if you still book him in the most epic way possible, that our jaws are dropped, that we are in awe of what he is doing. And that's how Hell in a Cell goes off the air. So the championship is actually an afterthought. That's the only way you can have him not get the championship here. But that's not what they did. I don't even know if they're capable enough to create something that epic. This match, called Hell in a Cell, yet after it all, is said and done anyway. Wyatt takes an ass-kicking for 10 minutes. This is no lie. 10 minutes. Somebody actually thought this was going to make Bray Wyatt look badass. We'll have him get his ass kicked for 10 minutes so bad that even the referee has to call for the bell because this guy isn't even freaking moving. And then once the bell is rang, we'll have Bray Wyatt get up. Oh, the bell rang and the match is over? I'll get up now. So not only did Bray Wyatt look weak as fuck taking an ass whipping for 10 minutes, he looks dumb as fuck too. What? Was that the bell? I gotta get up now. I am laughing in the tragedy and not in the humor. Trust me. Because it's the only thing I can do left with this fucking company. They had Bray Wyatt get beat up for 10 minutes with everything. Steel chairs. There was at one point like this big fucking gamut sledgehammer. And that was about to be used. And the ref was like, no, that's too much. You're going to take him out permanently. If you do it, I'm calling for the bell. And I'm thinking, wait, what do you mean you're calling for it? It's Hell in a Cell. So he uses this thing, and the ref immediately calls for the bell, and everybody, even WWE superstars in the back, they did a thing called, what is it, guys? Watch Along? Where they just have like a bunch of superstars or WWE personalities watching backstage, and it's like, it's broadcasted or streamed online or some shit. And Natalya was one of the guests, and when this match ended, her face was just like, oh, that's not good. X-Pac was a guest, and he literally just started screaming, how is this? That is dumb. That is stupid. It's Hell in a Cell. How is that possible? No matter if you call it a DQ or a ref stoppage, that should have never happened. It's Hell in a Cell. That is the dumbest thing I possibly have ever seen, and I can fucking speak. I need another fucking coffee with this shit show. It is the dumbest decision I have possibly ever seen in this company, and that is saying something because they constantly make dumb decisions time after time. But this one is the icing on the cake. They called for a fucking stoppage in a Hell in a Cell match, and somebody actually thought this was a good idea. And just like Asuka and Kairi winning the championships where it dilutes it because it was done in the most horrific way possible. Same thing with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt jumps up after the bell rang and delivers the claw to Seth Rollins like that's a big deal. Like, wow, he got up after all of that. No, that just makes him, A, look weak because he got beat up for 10 minutes. I've never seen Seth Rollins beat up anybody in 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, I should say. And then on top of that, once the bell rang is when The Fiend finally decided to wake up. That's good storytelling to you? There's no logic gaps in that or common sense that has been kind of leaked out? And on top of that, Rollins delivered 76 stomps. That didn't make us go, wow, Bray took 76 stomps. That just made us look like 76 stomps are weak as fuck. That finishing move is lame now. That made Seth Rollins look fucking horrendous. His finisher, I can never watch again and think somebody is going to stay down from it. I just can't believe how everything was done in this match. I cannot fathom that somebody, or many people, probably, which is even more fucking tragic to even think about, got together at a boardroom table and they mapped this out and they said, this is good. This is a way we can have Bray not get the championship, but look strong. It was obvious when Rollins was doing his 76 stomps. That's when Sacramento started booing. That's when all of us at home knew what was happening. We knew what was happening. And sure enough, Vince made it happen. He did the fucking deed. He did the Sacramento screw job. And anybody that is blaming Sacramento for acting the way they did, AEW chants, we want a refund, restart the match, how can you blame them? This is what they had planned. They rushed it, they knew they fucked up, and they refused. They refused to take blame and call the audible. Wyatt gets the championship and you actually are forced to put the rocket on him, and for the next year you have this guy undefeated and you make him like an Undertaker type character. The booking is simple, and then in a year, somebody really dominant that you want to push maybe beats him and takes the title after a year reign. That's badass. I can believe that The Fiend had not lost in a year, because The Fiend should not be losing. So you can put the title on him and it'll be epic. But if you're not going to put the title on him, the character, as I said before, doesn't need it. But you need to drop our jaws and give us something captivating and epic. Getting beat up for 10 minutes. And then once the bell rings, oddly, strangely, and stupidly, then he gets up to deliver a claw and then he basically runs away. Or he beats up Rollins a little bit on the outside, I think. Maybe another claw, Sister Abbott. I don't even know. They went to the outside. Bray does something else. The lights go out, the screeches and the screams, and Bray Wyatt basically runs away. What are you running away? You got nothing accomplished. You didn't get the championship, and Seth Rollins beat you up more than you beat him up. And that was Bray Wyatt's booking. You see what I'm saying? That's why Sacramento was... This was a huge night for two people, Sasha and Bray. Sasha taps out, and Bray Wyatt gets his ass kicked. We're off the fucking air. That's that. Can't make that up. But for more insult to injury, we'll have Bayley tap out as well, and we'll fill the rest of the card with filler bullshit. That's a great pay-per-view. This ending was fucking ugly. The match, the whole fucking red light too, was just fucking irritating the shit out of me. Everything about this was just poorly planned, poorly mapped out, and bullshit. So that's getting 2 uglies. I already put 1. I'm giving it another 1. That's right. 2 fucking uglies in that bullshit. And WWE has hit a new rock bottom that I never thought imaginable, that I never thought could be reached. I don't know what happens tonight. I don't know if you can rectify this. I really don't. I don't even know if there's damage control. This is already making headlines everywhere, and it's so cool, can I just say, for the community, not even just the Amplified unit or my subscribers, the community, and I'm talking about some names that are usually really positive all the time to a fault. They're lying to their audiences because there are times where this product, even by those standards of that fan, they need to call out the bullshit, but they don't. They're constantly positive. It was, and it's great to be positive, but you cannot lie to yourself or your audience. I've even seen some of those people, most of them actually, call them out on this. That was really cool to see, man. They finally had enough. That was so bad that it even pissed off the most positive people in the community. They were forced to come to the terms of reality that this delusional old man has to step aside. We all now know this. This was a rock bottom that we should not have gotten last night. We all were excited about Hell in a Cell, even though there was just a few matches advertised. We were hoping that the impromptu matches we were going to care about, and there was going to be some special shit involved. We didn't get any of that with the impromptu matches. And the matches we were looking forward to in the big moments were anything but. Sacramento had no other choice but to totally ask for a refund and chant another company's name because we need something. This was supposed to be premiere week. This was supposed to be a new era. That was the same shit we've seen in the past 5 years. The only difference, it was even worse last night. Let's tally this bitch up. Again, every ugly counts as 2 bads, guys. So that gets crossed out. That's 2 more bads. That's crossed out. 2 more bads. That's crossed out. Shit. 2 more bads. More bads. Wow, I knew this was going to be lopsided. I did not think it was going to be like this. There's your final, guys. What the fuck is this? 13 bads, 0 goods. This was an overwhelmingly horrible, worst pay-per-view ever for WWE. Or at least from Amplified booking standards. Boom! Now, has the Amplified man seen worse pay-per-views? Probably, but when you dissect this shit, this is what I've come up with. So maybe the worst pay-per-views that I've seen, maybe there was a couple of finishes that I really fucking liked or really propelled superstars. I don't know. I remember some horrible backlashes and such, trust me. Last year's Hell in a Cell finish, by the way, didn't even end the right way. That ended in like a DQ or no contest do, if I recall. But this pay-per-view, this is what I came up with. 13 fucking bads. And there is nobody in this world that is going to change my mind on any of this shit. This is one of the biggest travesties I ever could have witnessed. When we were talking about a pay-per-view for a billion-dollar company with 617 writers. You ruined Bray Wyatt last night, and I just hope, underneath this sun, on God's green earth, on this planet, that they can rectify Bray Wyatt. Because right now, I see the same type of booking for Bray that he was with the former Bray Wyatt character. He got his ass whooped last night. Sasha Banks and Bayley, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to get fucking coffee. We'll all tune into Raw tonight and see if they can begin to rectify this shit. The Amplified Man, for now. Wow! Check you later.